so if I walk up to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maryland Street.
Yes.
Is that right?
Okay, we're on.
We're on?
But it still isn't read.
Still not read?
No?
But we're on.
I just saw the title, Ken. Okay.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Home abroad, all the ships at sea. We're going to have this class on the church website in the YouTube library in a couple of days. We have parts 1 and 2 on the website, although the hot link in the bulletin I noticed wasn't working for me at least, but you know where to go on the website. This is the third and final session that Mike Slater and I are doing on Apocrypha. And I want to thank Mike in advance here for everything he's doing today as well. And our wonderful tech crew, there's Virginia back there. I want to start with Susanna, and we'll do a group reading. A couple of you will help us out with that. But first, a shout out to Shakespeare. Shakespeare loved the Apocrypha. His plays, the surviving plays, have 80 allusions over 11 plays.
Wow.
Yeah, and of course he named his daughters Susanna and Judith from the Apocrypha.
Wow.
Hamnet, I don't know where that name came from. Do you, Jim? His son died at what, age 8 or something? But his daughters lived to maturity. My favorite moment in The Merchant of Venice is when Portia is pretending to be a judge, and she makes a ruling in Shylock's favor, and he cries out, "A second Daniel come to judgment." Which is straight out of Susanna, of course. Okay, let's see, how's the technology working? Here we go. I managed to get all of Susanna, it's about 4 pages, onto screens, and we have some people to, so visually and orally you'll have double trouble with the play. There was a man living in Babylon whose name was, I've heard it pronounced Joachim, also Joachim, take your pick. He married the daughter of Hilkiah named Susanna, a very beautiful woman who feared the Lord. Her parents were righteous and they trained their daughter according to the law of Moses. Joachim was very rich and had a fine garden adjoining his house. The Jews used to come to him because he was the most honored of them all. That year, 2 elders from the people were appointed as judges. Concerning them, the Lord had said, "Wickedness came forth from Babylon, from elders who were judges, who were supposed to govern the people." These men were frequently at Joachim's house, and all who had a case to be tried came to them there. Jim, you want to take 2 or 3 of these sections? Or
And click the slide.
I'll take care of that, yeah.
Maybe you have. Yeah.
There it goes. Good. When the people left at noon, Susanna would go into her husband's garden to walk. Every day the 2 elders used to see her going in and walking about, and they began to lust for her. They suppressed their consciences and turned away their eyes from looking to heaven or remembering their duty to administer justice. Both were overwhelmed with passion for her, but they did not tell each other of their distress, for they were ashamed to disclose their lustful desire to have intercourse with her. Day after day they watched eagerly to see her. One day they said to each other, "Let us go home, for it is time for lunch." So they both left and parted from each other. But turning back, they met again, and when each pressed the other for the reason, they confessed their lust. Then together they arranged for a time when they could find her alone.
Ooh.
Go ahead. Once, while they were watching for an opportune day, she went in as before with only 2 maids and wished to bathe in the garden, for it was a hot day. No one was there except the 2 elders, who had hidden themselves and were watching her. She said to her maids, "Bring me olive oil and ointments and shut the garden doors so that I can bathe." They did as she told them, They shut the doors of the garden and went out by the side doors to bring what they had been commanded. They did not see the elders because they were hiding.
Thank you, Jim.
Oh,
Mike, you're up.
When the maids had gone out, the two elders got up and ran to her. They said, "Look, the garden doors are shut and no one can see us. We are burning with desire for you, so give your consent and lie with us. If you refuse, we will testify against you that a young man was with you, and this was why you sent your maids away." Susanna groaned and said, "I am completely trapped. For if I do this, it will mean death for me. If I do not, I cannot escape your hands. I choose not to do it. I will fall into your hands rather than sin in the sight of the Lord." Then Susanna cried out with a loud voice, and the two elders shouted against her. And one of them ran and opened the garden doors. When the people in the house heard the shouting in the garden, they rushed in at the side door to see what had happened to her. And when the elders told their story, the servants felt very ashamed, for nothing like this had ever been said about Susanna. The next day, when the people gathered at the house of her husband Joachim, the two elders came, full of their wicked plot to have Susanna put to death. In the presence of the people, they said, "Send for Susanna, daughter of Hilkiah, the wife of Joachim." So they sent for her, and she came with her parents, her children, and all her relatives.
Thank you. Andrew, you're up.
Now Susanna was a woman of great refinement and beautiful in appearance. As she was veiled, the scoundrels ordered her to be unveiled so that they might feast their eyes on her beauty. Those who were with her and all who saw her were weeping. Then the two elders stood up before the people and laid their hands on her head. Through her tears, she looked up toward heaven, for her heart trusted in the Lord. The elders said, "While we were walking in the garden alone, this woman came in with two maids, shut the garden doors, and dismissed the maids. Then a young man who was hiding there came to her and was intimate with her. We were in a corner of the garden, and we saw this wickedness. We ran to them. Although we saw him have intercourse with her, we could not hold the man because he was stronger than we, and he opened the doors and got away. We did, however, seize this woman and asked who the young man was, but she would not tell us. These things we testify. Because they were elders of the people and judges, the assembly believed them and condemned her to death." Then Susanna cried out with a loud voice and said, "O eternal God, you know what is secret and are aware of all things before they come to be. You know that these men have given false evidence against me, and now I am to die, though I have done none of the wicked things that they have charged against me." The Lord heard her cry. Just as she was being led off to execution, God stirred up the Holy Spirit of a young man named Daniel, and he shouted with a loud voice, "I want no part in shedding this woman's blood."
Peter, can you read that okay? Off the screen? Yes. Okay.
All the people turned to him and asked, "What is this you're saying?" Taking his seat among them, he said, "Are you such fools, O Israelites, as to condemn a daughter of Israel without examination and without learning the facts? Return to court, for these men have given false evidence against her." So all the people hurried back, and the rest of the elders said to him, "Come, sit among us and inform us, for God has given you the standing of an elder." Daniel said to them, "Separate them far from each other, and I will examine them." When they were separated from each other, he summoned one of them and said to him, "You old relic of wicked eyes, your sins have now come home, which you have committed in the past, pronouncing unjust judgments, condemning the innocent and acquitting the guilty, though the Lord said, "You shall not put an innocent and righteous person to death." Now then, if you really saw this woman, tell me, under what tree did you see them being intimate with each other? He answered, "Under a mastic tree." And Daniel said, "Very well. This lie has cost you your head, for the angel of God has received the sentence from God and will immediately cut you in two."
Susan?
Then, putting him to one side, he ordered them to bring the other. And he said to him, "You offspring of Canaan and not of Judah, beauty has beguiled you and lust has perverted your heart. This is how you have been treating the daughters of Israel, and they were intimate with you through fear. But a daughter of Judah would not tolerate your wickedness. Now then, tell me, under what tree did you catch them being intimate with each other?" He answered, "Under an evergreen oak." Daniel said to him, "Very well, this lie has cost you also your head, for the angel of God is waiting with his sword to split you in two, so as to destroy you both." Then the whole assembly raised a great shout and blessed God, who saves those who hope in him. And they took action against the two elders, because out of their own mouths Daniel had convicted them of bearing false witness. They did to them as they had wickedly planned to do to their neighbor. Acting in accordance with the law of Moses, they put them to death. Thus innocent blood was spared that day. Hilkiah and his wife praised God for their daughter Susanna, and so did her husband Joachim and all her relatives, because she was found innocent of a shameful deed. And from that day onward, Daniel had a great reputation among the people.
That's great.
The great thing about the story is the Greek. Sandy? There are wonderful puns on the two trees. A mastic tree, I had to look it up. It's not really a tree, it's a big bush. 4 or 5 feet, no more than 13 feet, versus a huge oak tree. And Daniel's punishments are puns in the Greek. Okay?
John, hold that steady. It's making a reverberation.
Okay. Susanna is often called the perfect detective story.
Yeah.
There's a second detective story in the Apocrypha. It's called Bel and the Dragon. Mike, you want to say something about that one?
Yes, and it's a great one. It's a short one, and for anyone, we'll challenge you to find your Apocrypha and read it. It's a very short book, but it's really interesting. There's two things that go on in that story. So it's set in Babylon. The king of Babylon is worshiping an idol called Bel, and the conversation goes, well, Bel must be a god because he eats the food that we put in front of him every day. So he's got to be a god. So anyway, he challenges Daniel to say, watch and see. So the food goes out at night, and sure enough, in the morning it's gone. But Daniel, our bright and detective man, has sprinkled ashes on the floor, and they see that those ashes have footsteps that lead back to where the priests are. So out come the priests, and in typical Daniel style, they're killed. So of course that's not quite enough for the king of Babylon. So now they have a dragon, and they go, now this is the true God, because he is a dragon, and he's here and he's powerful. Now, I could never find out what that dragon, if that was a metaphor to some other creature, but a dragon is all I could find on it. So Daniel said, I can kill that dragon. So there's some concoction with a variety of things that someone in the commentary said it looked like a hairball. It's made up of the different things that were in it. So they somehow got that into the dragon and it exploded. So the king of Babylon's not happy. You know, he's lost one. Now we've got the exploding dragon all over the place. So off he goes into where Daniel's most comfortable, into the lion's den. So he's in the lion's den, and it's 7 days. And you can imagine how hungry and thirsty you might be after 7 days. God comes to the rescue. He sends Habakkuk. Am I saying that right? I think Habakkuk, Old Testament prophet, appears with water and food, and Daniel is not starved to death nor eaten alive. So this is a sign. So they put the priests in, and needless to say, the lions gobble them up. So twice Daniel is at the rescue, condemning the gods that are not of Israel and showing their destruction, and that they're nothing but idols, and that the true God is working through him.
2 weeks ago, we talked not about Daniel in the lion's den, but about the 3 young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Ken reminded us what that story was. When I was a little kid, my father at bedtime would say, Shadrach, Meshach, and to bed we go. So 2 detective stories in the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha has all kinds of literary genres. And the one that's missing, well, we have, of course, the Song of the 3 Young Men, for instance. We have Proverbs. 2 weeks ago, we had a reading in church from Ecclesiasticus, or the wisdom of Jesus ben Sirach. We've looked at history books, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th Maccabees, all kinds of different, there are a couple of novels, Tobit. We have the devotional, the prayer of Manasseh. We have the letter of Jeremiah, an epistle. There are no epistles, no letters. That genre is missing in our Old Testament. It's all over the New Testament. Something like 19 of the 27 books are letters. We have apocalyptic. 2nd Ezra comes to mind. Anyway, the wisdom literature. Last week I went back and reread the wisdom literature, and there are some good ones, and there are some disgusting ones. Leave in good time and do not be the last to go home. Well, good advice.
Yes.
On the other hand, he who loves his son will whip him often in order that he may rejoice in the way he turns out.
Oh my.
Spare the rod and spoil the child, says Proverbs. I would rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than dwell with an evil wife.
Oh my.
From a woman sin had its beginning, and because of her we all die.
Well, yeah, okay.
Drooping hands and weak knees are caused by the wife who does not make her husband happy.
Okay.
Lots of inspired verses like that. In
I can't
Ecclesiasticus.
see why we need mental health therapists.
Oh, yes, yes. On the other hand, happy is the husband of a good wife. The number of his days will be doubled. A loyal wife rejoices her husband, and he will complete her years in peace. A good wife is a great blessing. She will be granted among the blessings of the man who fears the Lord. Whether rich or poor, his heart is glad, and at all times his face is cheerful. So when you see me cheerful all the time, you know what that is. The one literary genre that is notably missing in the Apocrypha, I don't know if this ever occurred to you as you have the book memorized, is prophecy. There are no prophetic books. And the reason is very simple. In Jesus' time, they thought they were living in the age of Bat-Kol, B-A-T-K-O-L in English. Bat, Bath, Beth means, of course, daughter. Bat-Kol means the daughter of a voice. They thought that prophecy had ended, and all they had was the daughter of a voice. They had the echo of the voice of God. But God had stopped speaking. One of the reasons that Jesus stirred up so many people's excitement was because they thought he was a prophet, and they hadn't had that in a long time. This morning over coffee, I fed into the computer the keywords Jesus as prophet in Old Testament. And I came out with 4 pages of single space. I mean, it's all over the place.
Wow.
Yeah. We're not particularly taken with prophecy. We did some classes on prophecy a couple of years ago in here. They're on the website. Most of us don't pay too much attention to prophecy anymore. We forget that that's one of the reasons Jesus got so much attention. The age of the daughter of a voice had returned. Okay. What are your thoughts about Susanna? Questions, observations, aside from puns in Greek?
Great woman. I'm glad that she didn't get put to death for all the wrong reasons.
Just the fact that she was a woman, you know, who had been falsely accused, because I know a lot of the times women were, you know, not thought out highly enough to even defend them.
I know.
You know, much less keep them from being cut in two or whatever.
I know.
Even today, it's familiar. It's a familiar story. I mean, women would find it a familiar story.
Yes.
Yeah, men wouldn't notice, but women would.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
That was left out.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
She was in the privacy of her home. It was her husband's garden.
Yeah.
She'd done everything, many women know, she'd done everything she could do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still, you know, she was very helpless and also very passive in the story. She kind of crossed her fingers it would work out.
Yeah, but she refused to sin.
Yes.
And
But
I-
she didn't have choices. She wasn't able to speak for herself. They didn't ask her, yeah.
Right,
So all
right.
she could do was hope. And that's such, you feel my stomach
Well, they-
reading
they-
that story.
But they did ask her, but she refused.
Yeah, they say give your consent.
Yes.
Give your consent.
They-
Yes, no, I mean, in the trial.
Oh,
She
yeah.
wasn't, so, I mean, I just felt very,
oh.
like I couldn't breathe because she's this terrible, she's just waiting to see what's gonna happen.
I know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's this thing, Lynn's ire. And we have trouble identifying that because we're so free love and everything, but I mean, she really stuck her neck out.
Yeah.
She was kind of a goody-goody, but hey.
Well, I admire her.
Yeah,
Well,
oh,
yeah, to die
yeah.
for your goody-goodiness is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I admire her for saying
It's hard to
that.
say no to power.
I know, and she said no, knowing that she was going to be raped,
Yep.
and by her refusal, but that she would be pure in the eyes of God.
But she knew either way she was gonna die, because if she had been in
Yeah,
an
yeah,
affair,
yeah.
then, so that's, she said, that's really, comes through in the English, just, she's completely stuck. And
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Do you think anybody, of course it's hard to say, but I wonder if anyone drew the conclusion when they read it, if this could happen to her, does it happen to other women and cause anyone to reflect on that?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I say it's a familiar story.
Yeah.
Women not in a position of power, being used by those in position of power, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just women, but anyone in a lesser position.
Anyone, yeah.
Powerless person.
And blind faith in the elders. Well, they're elders, so they must be right.
I know.
And everyone around was crying because that's wrong. And
I know.
so, I mean, yeah, how many people, male and female, were So that's the other part of that story. It's interesting, is question authority, ask yourself what the motives are.
Yeah.
It's very,
Daniel was willing to stand up to everybody and say, wait a minute. He gave due process.
he did give due process, but he was in danger because
I know.
if there's anything a very powerful person, as we know right now by the news, is they resent anybody speaking.
I know.
So he was at risk, and they were quick to kill.
Yeah.
I have
Well,
not
he gave
read,
them some people to kill.
I'm sorry. I have not read this in any commentary, so it's probably wrong. I think in the background of Susanna must be the story about David and Bathsheba from 2 Samuel 11 and 12. And again, you remember David looked out and saw her at her bath. Here we go. And lusted for her and called her to his bed. And unlike Susanna, she wasn't able to say no. He was the king. And she got pregnant. But she was married. So David came up with plan A, you remember. He sent to the battle front lines where her husband Uriah was fighting for him and said, I'm going to reward you. You've been such a good soldier. Come on home for the weekend. David figured that he'd go to bed with his wife and the baby would be passed off as his. But Uriah slept on the floor. And when asked why, he said, I'm not going to have pleasure when my friends are at the front lines going through deprivation.
Oh, no.
So David came up with plan B. He told his general Joab, put him in the front lines or he'll be killed. Which happened. And then she was a widow and the king could order her to marry him and the baby was taken care of. The prophet, we were talking about prophets, the prophet Nathan came before the king. We do have women prophets mentioned occasionally in the Old Testament, right? Like Deborah. But most of them are male. Nathan came to the king and said, there's a man in your kingdom, a rich man with lots of flocks of sheep, lots of herds, and there's a poor man who just had one ewe. And the rich man wanted it, so he took it. And David is outraged, morally indignant. Get that man. And Nathan points the finger at him, and in the wonderful King James Version says, thou art the man. Poor Bathsheba. You know, we don't know her name. Beth, I said mean Beth Jacob, Beit Yaakov, up the street. It means daughter. And so we know her father's name. She was the daughter of Sheba. We don't know if she was Mary or Joan. There you have it. It's all over the place. Anything else about Susanna? Yes.
Think of all the women who did really great things, and the Bible has just probably a tenth of them, because there are a lot of, I'm sure, remarkable women. And something like this happened to them, and hey. But if these women had been heard, we don't have a different kind of fight, maybe not so much patriarchy.
Yeah. Well, we're still fighting that fight.
It's one of the things I like about St. Bart's. You can have conversations like this without looking over your shoulder.
I know.
Probably the best known book out of the entire Apocrypha . 18 books, according to some counts. This is Bruce Metzger's count. Probably the best known of all the books is Susanna. And one of the reasons for that is art. From about 1470 on, where's my list? Rubens, Van Dyck, Tintoretto, Rembrandt, Tiepolo, Renoir, Degas, even Mary Cassatt. Lots of depictions of the two elders leering at the girl at her bath. And that, of course, made the story, made people go back to, well, what's the story? I'm a little uneasy about that tradition in art. People like Renoir and Degas turn you and me into voyeurs. Not the elders, but you and me. The viewpoint in those paintings is we are looking at the girl at her bath.
Yeah, that's true.
It makes me uneasy. Not sure what to make of that.
Well, the whole thing about, artists love to paint nude bodies.
Yep.
And, for whatever reason, personally, I don't find the human body all that beautiful. But obviously, I don't have the eye of that kind of artist, so.
Well, they got paint for a bunch of lewd men.
The thing about Judith and Holofernes cutting off his neck,
Yeah.
that's our perspective.
Yeah.
Jim Cotton Vitellius A15, right?
Yes.
Is the volume that has Beowulf and Judith. Judith, an old English story version of Judith. I actually went back a couple of weeks ago and brushed up on my old English and reread it. And it's not a translation of our Judith in the Apocrypha. It's a retelling of the story, very imaginative. But you do have Holofernes in his bedroom with his one-way mirror hanging around the four-poster. He can see out, but people can't see in. And Judith, she is the heroine for the Jews, for the Israelites. She uses her beauty to seduce him. And she brings her lunch basket every day because she has to eat her food, not the goy food. And so the soldiers get used to every day at noon having her leave his bedroom and carry her basket and go out to the park or something. So when she takes his sword and lops his head off and puts his head in her lunch basket and walks out, the soldiers just shrug. So she takes his head to the disheartened Israelite army and shows it off, and they get all excited and they win the next fight. Judith, another wonderful Old Testament hero.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
So bloody.
Oh. Very gory, yeah. No, children should not be allowed in the presence of the Bible.
No.
Something else I learned while Mike was making me discover the Apocrypha. Second Esdras, which I mentioned a moment ago, it's some guesswork about what happens at the end of the world. It's an apocalyptic book. Second Esdras really inspired somebody by the name of Christopher Columbus. Did you know that?
No.
Where do I have my notes?
Tell.
Second Esdras 6:42 says, "On the third day thou didst command the waters to be gathered together in the seventh part of the earth. 6 parts thou didst dry up and keep so that some of them might be planted and cultivated and be of service before thee." Well, Columbus read that, and he, in his presentation to Ferdinand and Isabella, he made a mistake. He said it was written by Ezra. Close enough. He said that if 1/7 of the earth's surface is covered with water, then the ocean between the west coast of Europe and the east coast of Asia must be pretty narrow and could be navigated with a fair wind in a couple of days. Pop them into it and we know the rest of the story. The Apocrypha turns out to be pretty important in all kinds of ways I didn't know. So thank you, Mike. Other comments about the Apocrypha before we draw this series to a close? Mike, anything else?
Not at all, but the conversation when we were talking about women, especially in the Old Testament, and the horrific treatment we see sometimes Phyllis Tribble wrote an excellent book called Text of Terrors, and it pulls out 5 examples of just how horrific these 5 women were treated. And the text was not necessarily judgmental of the men, and they were all men that did that to them. So it's a great place to look at it, to remind you of the wickedness of those women who were all brutally killed. And pretty much the text of the Bible stays neutral at best.
Phyllis Tribble, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Ned?
I raised Catholic. I had the Apocrypha. But I look at this collection as a window into history. You know, there's in EFM, you know, there's the historical Jesus that we learn about and the preached Jesus, which is someone we concocted after the fact. But the historical Jesus has to be understood at the time he lived. What was the world that he lived in? The culture, the politics, all of it. What was that like? And these stories help me understand the stories he lived, learning, just as we are learning through our collection of stories. It helps me understand him a bit, well, what the gospel writers tell me he said. Help me understand his view of Rome and why it had to be defeated.
And why it is what?
Why it had to be defeated. In other words, the oppression of Rome on people who were not in power.
Anything else? Wow, we've exhausted the entire Apocrypha.
3 lessons.
Well done. Thank you all. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, both of you. Appreciate it very, very much. Very, very much.
That was when I was just kind of coming to
I was looking to see if.
Thank you, Virginia.
It's still on. No cussing.
Since 20.
I think
It wasn't a meeting on there.